hitting live. I just hit live because we're having a great conversation, and as ever, we never. It's not quite. It's about 8 minutes to go or something, isn't it? But we talk nonsense, and we never talk this nonsense once we start. And the nonsense. We've decided. No, it doesn't really matter. We've decided.
Come on, Ian, get yourself one of these. You won't regret it.
Okay, I need to get one of them.
X8. This is the X8, but they have a $20 cheaper one, which is the X6, and it's about $100.
But why is it so good then?
Oh my God! It does even the charge. When the charging, you can put a very big battery on as an input, so it discharges to the other battery, so you can do a 330 amps discharge on the battery. So it's very easy to do the batteries. They have other models larger, but these new ones are very. Come on, it's this big.
It looks like it's got got a big screen or something. Is there lots of very fancy things come out when you're charging batteries?
No, come on. The best thing is the micro SD card on the back.
What's that for?
Recording what you do with the batteries.
So does it log every charge, Louis?
Yes.
So you don't have to tell it to log; it just does it every time.
It just does it. And if you want, there's an app on for a PC that you can connect this and support for this, so you can see all the fancy graphs and all that.
So can you annotate which battery you're? How do you let it know?
It has memories, so you can use the memory. So you're charging battery 27. Just go to memory 27 and you say it's memory 27. It doesn't have any smart battery identifying feature.
Sure. But as long as you number it and you go to the same one, it logs it. Wow, that's cool. I'm so out of touch.
Come on, these
I didn't know such a thing existed.
These chargers are quite. They have been on the market for lots of years. They usually have some fancy, expensive ones that were wonderful too. I remember at my previous job, I had some of those, the 4010. They could go 40 amps on 2 channels simultaneously. So
I just haven't. I haven't had a requirement to buy a battery. I haven't bought a battery charger for.
Come on.
I don't know, in a number of years greater than 5, because I haven't bought them up or done anything.
Gary,
so why do I need a new battery?
No. You know that lipos are not the same as alkalines. You don't use them and throw them away. And that's what you're doing when you're not using a good charger.
So what I'm doing wrong? I shouldn't be chucking it away after every charge.
I recharge my alkalines. So what am I doing wrong?
Well, that gets back to the combo we had earlier. Do you know, I've always thought would be a great idea is like an RFID tag on the batteries. If that it just scanned the charge.
Been there, done that. You forget it after a very short time.
Yeah,
I've done that. Sticking little stickers on the batteries and all that. Forget it. You'll forget it.
Some of the guys that fly helicopters here, they do that. They've got their charger system set up so that they just, as they put the battery on the table, it reads the battery, sets the charge levels, everything, and logs it. And these guys have got a couple of grand set up in their charging system. Yeah. These big 3D helicopters with 12S batteries and things. Amazing.
Yeah, all for that. Charge one battery at a time with one of these. So the issue is that the charger is small, but the power supply is not.
Yeah, it's always the downside. It's always pain.
Where's your Tesla Powerwall? Oh, there we go.
Oh,
yeah.
This one is only 1,000 watts.
That's nearly a kilowatt.
Hang on a minute. Hey, you're taking the Michael out of me, aren't you? You've seen me coming here. That can't be so.
1,000.
Look, I'm in a mood for believing anything this evening. Well, plainly I've got to catch up with charging and things like that. No, I'll ask my lad. My lad will know.
Yeah, but then you get the power supplies from HP rack-mounted computers, which are the best.
Yeah, they're easy to mod, aren't they? It doesn't take
yes,
a lot, does it?
Yes, you get two, and they're wonderful.
Do you bump the voltage up because 12 volts is often not enough?
No. You just serialize the two power supplies.
Yeah,
and they're wonderful. Yeah, it's little do-it-yourself with very large gauge cable. So let's say at least 8 AWG or even better, and several cables is even better. But yeah, and it's cheaper than buying one ready-made.
There's no
AWG, that's interesting. It's American wire gauge. I wonder if the EU did a wire gauge. How many volumes of documentation would come with it?
Oh my God, shut up, because there is such a square millimeter, but no one knows it.
No, I don't even know it, and I'm in. Well, am I in the EU today? Where am I? I don't even know where I am at the
You're
moment.
on Greenwich.
We're sort of like that at the moment. We're depends which mood Boris is in. But yeah, I only go by AWG as well.
Russian sounding name that. Anyway, moving on to it. Yeah. I didn't. American wire gauge. I've never thought of that before, but of course, it's obvious when you hear it said. Are there other wire gauges around the world,
Yes,
or did that stick?
There's the European one, and there's a crazy conversion table somewhere. I've seen it once because I had to buy some plugs, so I had to know which was the equivalency from the plugs I was buying to.
Well, we just do it in the size of nails until they start glowing red. I mean, that's how you do it, isn't it? With fuses and things. Once a 6-inch nail starts glowing, you know you're right up there with it.
No,
and dear viewer, the reason we started this battery conversation is because we've decided in our secret society, and Ian has failed, in our secret society, if you can't make a LiPo explode with a nail, then you can't join. And this is how this silly conversation started.
Okay.
So tell me, Ian, why were we trying to blow up a LiPo with a nail?
Let me throw a challenge to you, Ian. Airsoft guns.
Airsoft gun. Well, I put a nail through it. I had a Zippy, which I've been messing around with a lot of stuff the last couple of weeks, and I had a Zippy which puffed in the last couple of days. I just spotted it on the bench this morning and thought, "Ooh, that looks off." And I thought, well, I'll end this one properly. And it didn't go up. I put a nail through it, and it didn't go up. It just sat there and looked. I actually filmed it. I actually have a video of a battery not going on fire when you put a nail through it, because I thought, well, you've got to film it when you're doing it.
You did it wrong.
Bloody amateurs. Amateurs,
yes,
aren't
amateur. You don't even need a nail. You just need persuasion. That's the power of persuasion.
Next time, I'm just going to short it. I'm just going to put an XT60 soldered on both connections on it and let it go. That's probably the quickest way. But yeah, it's funny when you try to make something go on fire, it just won't. It pretty much sums the whole drone industry up, really, because we worry about these things going up left, right, and centre. And
you did right. We got a LiPo and tried to blow it up, and it puffed up like a huge balloon. It still wouldn't go bang. In the end, we just poured petrol on it and set it on fire. That worked.
As you were telling me earlier, that's the LiPo that you put the pin in and then push back that puffiness, then put it on some blocks, and then it's perfectly good to go again.
Yeah, you got to wrap it in duct tape though, otherwise they puff again.
There has been this scary trend of people trying to unpuff LiPos, and I don't know why or where that's come from.
I am struggling to believe, is there genuinely a we can unpuff LiPo way of thinking out there?
If it's on YouTube, sure there is.
Yeah, and
what's on YouTube, it's true. So.
And that's the problem. People don't understand why it puffs. That's the problem. It's a chemical breakdown. At the end of the day, it puffs because there's a breakdown of the chemicals inside, and the battery's knackered. Regardless of what happens, the battery is knackered. You know,
if you can charge an iPhone by wrapping it in tinfoil, putting it in a microwave, and sticking it on high for 2 minutes, you can depuff a lipo.
Can you do that? Hang on a minute.
But no, it's sitting outside. It's still out there. It's still not on fire, unfortunately. So I might film part 2 later with a chainsaw or something, just to.
This is when the fire happens, when you put it calmly to one side somewhere when you're least expecting it. I've been sitting here waiting. I'm going to put a nail.
Well, I did toss it in the fire pit, just in case. I walked off and thought, yeah, I'm going to just put it in there out the way. But it's full of wood, though, so if it goes up, it's going to cause a great bonfire.
Well,
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing some tests. I'm going to test some of those lipo bags because I got one the other day and it's got nylon Velcro, and I'm thinking, how does this work? There's some really bad ones out there. They got, like nylon stitching and nylon Velcro, and I'm sure that they actually just add to the volume of flame. So I'm going to do that. Also, I'm going to get some of those ammo cases. People say, oh, put your lipos in an ammo case, which really, if it's sealed, you're making a bomb. And if it's got holes, you're making a flamethrower. So there's a whole lot of myths need to be...
demonetize yet another video. Every single video you do.
Then I'll strap that to a drone.
Well,
and it'll be weaponized.
I used the ammo box, but I removed the seal. I didn't drill mine. I left no holes. However, I removed the seal all the way around.
Flipping big ammo box if it's got a seal in it.
Well, the other thing too is people put all their batteries in a box. So if one goes up, they all go up. Oh,
yeah, I did that.
I'm guilty of that as well, of putting them all in the same place. That is true.
Come on, just get some smart batteries. Come on. So easy.
That's an anafi. Yeah, it's funny enough. We were talking about that earlier. When you see the pictures of a battery going up, it is horrifying. I probably see on Facebook about one a month on the RC between all of the groups, and you always sit there and go, Jesus. I think the last one I saw was a guy's workshop. It was a system builder, in fact. That was on the Pixhawk, on the Hex group, and he put it on charge. No, he'd taken it off charge, if I remember. It had just been on charge, and he'd walked out the workshop, and it had burnt the place to the ground. So you sort of forget at times. We all throw them around. We all use them daily, but they can bite, unfortunately. And when they do, it can be bloody nasty as well.
Yeah, the best way to store them, I found, is those concrete blocks, cinder blocks, I think they call them in the USA, and you get 2 holes in each block. You just go and buy a dozen of those, stack them on the concrete floor in the garage, and you can put just 2 or 3 batteries in each hole. And if one lot goes up, it's not going to take the rest up. And they're fireproof and they're cheap.
I think, if we look how the batteries are very safe overall, to be fair. That's Louis. What's in Louis' closet?
Louis smells smoke.
Good day, Mad RC UOV. Oh, Mad RC. What's it? UOV Shed. Hello, Mac. Hello.
I got somebody. I got these. I've just bought these for my new. Jesus, what you got there, Louis? How big?
How much for a helicopter? It's for one of your helicopters.
Yeah.
Raupner.
Once they go puffy, just use them as pillows. I mean, that's great.
Use them as pillows.
In a wooden cabinet.
The thing is, battery management has been a black art for so many years, and I still remember when the LiPo lithium-ion craze started. A friend of mine was the owner of one of the services for computers. So I got in an agreement with him, so he could give me all the return batteries from the laptops. So at the time, I got a huge pile of 18650 batteries, cells. But then the problem was how to build packs with them, because that thing of touching and doing the short circuits for the points was very bad. But batteries are something that we must take care of. I usually have them on standard boxes, not concrete or ammo boxes. and every month or so, I go around all of them and put them on storage mode. So that's important to take care. So I have batteries full as hell and still doing good job, not losing, not with good internal resistance and everything. So it's kind of a maintenance job that you have to be attentive to that.
Well, we just all got to be careful, haven't we? You recently did a battery video, didn't you, Bruce? I think this was it this very last week, or was I catching up?
Yeah, it was just the other day. Yeah, just looking at the C ratings and batteries and things, because a lot of people don't seem to understand what that is and how it's not fixed. As batteries get older, the C rating drops, and that can cause some nasty incidents if you're not taking that into account.
Oh, come on, Bruce. Not even the manufacturers know what the C rating is. Otherwise, they wouldn't put those crazy numbers.
So you watched my video then, Louis?
I didn't need to see your video, Bruce, because that's plain bollocks. Because you get some, for instance, brand name batteries like one starting with a T, that gives you a 16,000 milliamp 6S cell, and they claim 25 Cs. And I did the testing. We managed to get a bank of halogen lights doing as a resistive discharge, and we had knife switches, and we were adding more load on the batteries. And we managed to have one explode when we were pulling around 15 Cs from the batteries. So I know that's not true.
Come on, Lou.
We take it for granted. So
you're telling me the 220C batteries I got from Banggood aren't really 220C?
No, I tell you, yes, it's possible. Bruce, just get a lot of halogen lamps, 24 volts, create some series and parallel circuits, lots of good wiring gauge, some knife switches, and start putting load on them and see what happens. That's the best way. I'm going to do
something similar. I've got I use some nichrome wire wound around a ceramic former dunked in a bucket of water. That's a pretty good heavy load without having to spend a fortune on halogen lights.
No, the halogen lights were cheap because they were Chinese too. So
I had a friend who had a similar setup in Damara.
You had a friend, Gary. Now you're stretching.
I did. I know that is stretching credibility. And he had a similar wire setup in a bucket in the Masai Mara, and that was for blowing baboons' arms off when they come to nick stuff out of the house. But anyway, then I'm talking about demonetizing videos. See, there's this big bucket outside the house that was wired.
And it's inside your bed at night, is it?
What is that?
This is my death machine. Right. This is one of my early discharges that I needed to knock together very quickly. So you have a jar of cooking oil.
An early discharge. Have you been to see the doctor recently? How is it going over there with that?
I then wrapped, obviously, resistance wire around a core and dipped it in the oil. A 6S will get this at 80 degrees in about 3 minutes. It's nice in winter outside in the garden.
You probably do need to get out of it.
Have you ever seen a transformer blow up with all the oil coming out?
He also runs the cooking channel, by the way.
The cooking channel, that's right. Yeah.
Now I know where English guys like fish and chips. That's how they do these chips.
Hang on, steady. Ian's Welsh. That's a bit different.
Welsh. Don't call me English.
Leaks.
I hadn't used it for about a year. When I fired it up the other day, it awfully smelt for a bit, but once it boiled off, it was bang on again. It was. I do strange shit like that all the time. Just it works. It works. I was going to seal it, and then I thought it's probably not a good idea to make a hot oil bomb to myself. so I left the lid off.
Thanks
then you can put it on your drone.
Thanks for that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. At what point do I have to start paying YouTube? Let's go very, very soon. Very, very soon indeed. Yeah, yeah, well, I say it's long, cold nights in West Wales. Long, cold nights. I realise that, and cooking oil's cheap. So have we exhausted the battery subject here, gentlemen?
No, I don't know. You can recharge it.
Oh, very good, very good.
Time to put this subject on storage.
Oh, dear me. There's not been a great deal happening in our world this week, unless you guys have seen things I'm missing, except I'm seeing a whole of a lot of regurgitated stories, not quite. People claiming firsts that are just, they're not firsts. They're not first by a long, long, long way.
I saw
one of my videos is like that. Someone puts first.
Okay.
I saw one which is probably going to get you demonetized again. But did you see the ISIS story? It's hard not to go, well, shit happens.
Why didn't he run away? I mean, to one point, just run away.
But there's been an awful lot of people saying what a load of nonsense that must be. How can it be? Look at the thing. Look, it's all still in one piece. How can it have killed anybody? They seem to miss the part where the grenade would have. He left the grenade and anyway, moved on swiftly. Okay, but a lot of that's coming from the flipping fishing drone fleet. That's where they're getting all those. We're going to demonetize it. Let's do it properly. That's where they're getting all that stuff they're using is from the fishing guys. Quite why we haven't stopped those being sold, I don't quite know. But I'm amazed at the number of people that are debunking that story.
It's a great way to catch fish, isn't it? Use a grenade from a drone. They'll float to the top.
Absolutely. Well, they just take
that
off.
Was that Hollywood movie that premiered this week. That has all the drones killing or trying to kill the president and all those guys.
I haven't heard about that.
Oh, it is all the buzzwords of the drone world. It is swarm, it is drone, so it's great. So if you want fear, and that's that movie. Jared Butler, the actor, I believe, or Morgan Freeman.
He's just coming out with names you know now. And names you know.
If I want fear, I just go flying.
So
absolutely.
So it's very hard to. It's another fear mongering because people say, "Oh, all the drones they kill all the guys, and they have facial recognition, and they go after the guys, and they explode." So everything bad on drones. So
did that happen anywhere near Gatwick, Louis?
I don't know if it's Gatwick or Heathrow. But no, it was US based. So
yeah, there's no doubt. There's a great deal of fear. We have, of course, the FAA saying. If you watch Bruce's channel, and you'll see he mentioned it. His news, it's interesting how that story escalated from don't drop stuff, don't be nasty, don't weaponize, until the FAA finally said, oh, by the way, don't weaponize anything, which is. I'm quite surprised it's taken that long to actually have a policy because they have, what was his name? Not Austin. What was the name of the lad with the flamethrower and the handgun years
Austin
ago?
Powers?
Austin could be Austin Powers. But that lad, he did cause some trouble, didn't he? But it's surprising it's taken a couple of years to come out with a policy. It's always surprised me in the UK, or I think it probably applies across Europe as well. You're only actually allowed to drop water or finely divided sand from the air.
No, not even that in most of the EU countries.
Not even that.
Yeah, you have to get a special permission from the aviation authorities.
Yeah, well, the water and finely divided sand is water is gliders and finely divided sand is balloons. Gas balloons. So that was the reasoning they were given exemptions.
You have to be really careful with this weaponizing drones thing because you read carefully what they've said. They've said that It is they're warning the general public that it is illegal to operate a drone with a dangerous weapon attached. And they've defined dangerous weapon means any item that is used for or is readily capable of causing death or serious bodily injury. So if you put your drone on the roof of your car, you've attached the dangerous weapon. You're in violation. You can get $25,000 fine.
Come on, Bruce. It's great. So now propellers on drones are forbidden.
It's one of those ones that you wish they hadn't done, because it highlights it more, frankly, isn't it? I don't know what point it was necessary to say don't strap a flamethrower to a drone.
Probably after someone strapped a flamethrower to a drone.
But it's, they don't say don't strap a flamethrower to a car, or don't strap a flamethrower to a lawnmower, but it must happen.
You don't want to unnecessarily restrict people's freedoms, Ian.
So are you going to say to Mr. Elon Musk, don't sell flamethrowers on the internet?
No, well, because that's how he's funding the whole thing, isn't it? The whole
strapping drone flamethrowers to morons.
It's one of those ones you just look at and go, was it necessary to say that? Deal with the people who've done it. Don't publicize it.
It's just a reaction to that Forbes article, isn't it? I mean, the FAA have been reading the press and thinking, oh, we better do something. We better make it show people that we're actually, dealing with this threat of weaponized drones. So we'll put out a memo. That'll fix it. No one will dare put a weapon on a drone now.
Yeah, it was amazing. A UAV shed. Apparently, Skydio 2 is coming this autumn, and yes, it is. Yes, it is, and we'll get them. We'll get them on again with their magic. Do you remember they had all the formulas on the back on the behind that lad from Skydio last time we spoke to him, and hopefully he'll have more secrets.
Did I see that they've taken the prop guards off, so it's more like a conventional drone now? It doesn't have that frame around it.
Yeah, they sent me an email. They've been sending emails out on this, haven't they? They sent one this week. What did they say on that one? They're getting closer to doing something. It's going to be interesting to see, because really the first one was a proof of concept, probably more than anything. If you looked at it, really, it wasn't really a camera drone. I think sometimes people get mixed up with these things. At the end of the day, the idea of a camera drone is to capture a moment, capture an image. At the end of the day, the drone isn't the important part of a camera drone. At the end of the day, it's a means to get the camera in the air and take the picture. The unit worked very well at all the object avoidance and everything. It just didn't do the camera bit particularly well. It's going to be interesting to see how they get on with that. Because at the end of the day, a camera drone is to capture a moment, an image, to have something to take away with. At the end of the day, flying a camera drone is one of the most boring things in the world if you just do it to fly around. It's not up, round, down. It's not something you can enjoy for very long. At the end of the day, a camera drone's purpose is the camera at the end of the day.
And did you see that the Insta360 are releasing a new thumb-sized camera? Which that looks interesting actually from a number of perspectives. I don't know if it's a full 360 though. It's only got a lens on one side. I think it's actually an action camera that they've released. Yeah, and it looks good. It's got image stabilization. It's like 20 grams or something, some silly, ridiculously lightweight. So you can put it on. Maybe they're going after the sub 250 gram drone market. You never know, but it looks really good.
It's you're gonna probably see a lot, because obviously the GoPro 8 is hovering. No one really knows. There's been rumors and whispers and a couple of pictures. We don't know how true it is. Obviously, when that drops, it pushes everyone else to do something else. It's probably going to be an interesting 6 months. It's interesting if you look at how the industry's moving. Drones and cameras are becoming less relevant, and ground-based cameras are becoming more relevant by the minute. You've only got to look at what DJI have been doing and everyone else. The handheld gimbal market is exploding by the minute, more and more. So I think you're going to see a lot more of the drone companies do a lot more towards that, and the other companies come a bit more towards the drone side as well, as you were saying, having the ability to mount it on the bottom of an aircraft as well. He's got what? He's got a 3. What do you think of it, Louis? I haven't seen it yet myself.
What can you say of an handheld gimbal? It works.
Yeah.
And still has the same problems as all handheld gimbals, which they press on the buttons of the phone. Damn. So
I'm not a big fan of phone gimbals. Personally, my battery doesn't last long enough on a phone to warrant using it for recording an hour of video.
You can plug it from here.
Yeah, I have seen that on the
So, and this one is not that bad on battery consumption, so it works.
They're crazy cheap though, aren't they? What's the price? They're like $120.
100 euros, around that.
Aren't we a bit like the drone shots? You know, where every single program now has got a pull away reveal or whatever over some trees, and it's exactly the same shot. Aren't we beginning also get a bit bored now of the handheld steady shots, where you can see it? Someone's got one of these things. They're sort of bouncing along as I go. I can't quite describe the movement.
That's why the Epic Vlogger has jerky shots, just to be different.
Yeah. And fast.
Yeah, you know, I watched the
video. Bruce, don't forget.
I watched the video today, and I couldn't help but think of your flipping epic video. This lad was doing a really good job of showing. He made a boat. It was about making a 3D printed boat, but it had all your flipping shots in it. So I couldn't watch this video. Oh no, that's what Bruce said. Oh no, the whole thing. Yeah.
Bruce gave away all the YouTubers' trade secrets in that video. Honestly, it is shocking.
Yeah, I felt sorry for the lad in Sweden. So, what are you using that thing for, Lou? Is it just a nice toy to have? Would you actually have a use for it?
That and a few zip ties, and you get a nice gimbal on a drone. No, I'm kidding. Wow. Comes handy from time to time. The thing is, these things you have to plan ahead. So it's not something that you go.
Should we all just leave Louis?
Yeah, let's go.
The others are gone. I think I should go as well.
No, but these things make you plan ahead that you are going to do something special. My kids are not on the age that they want their father to go around, so it's less and less what I have to do for planning the shots. So, but what's that? That an SC?
Yes, I got both. I got the S and the SC.
Oh my God! See, that even requires more planning. I was saying that having an handheld gimbal requires some planning ahead of what you're going to do.
Yeah, the S does especially. The best thing about the SC is that it fits back in the box, ready to go. You don't have to recalibrate it. That was the number one issue with the original S, that it didn't go in the box. You had to adjust the calibrations. That meant you had to calibrate it every time. The SC,
really? Yeah, in the box.
Yeah, the S, if you calibrated it, mounted it to the positions for your camera, it won't go back in the package, unfortunately. But the SC does.
Well, look, you've made Louis go away now.
No, I'm still here. He's going to
come back with a steady cam.
You said that like
no.
Hang on a minute. I've got the outside broadcast unit, yeah? Yeah.
No, I'll be honest, the SC is very, very good. But like all handheld gimbals, it's only as good as you are at the end of the day. You know, you have to walk like you've thinged yourself. You have to do those special walks and those special movements. And people often say, you know, I bought this new gimbal, but I'm not getting what I want out of it. It can only do so much. They're not perfect. They're designed to smooth. They're not going to completely remove everything.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's a world I don't know about at all. All I have to show is some beer bottle lids. Doesn't really count. Happen to have them on the desk. Technology. It's all. Oh, yes, one of those Gorilla Grip things.
Yeah, that's the perhaps the most used item, because even my kids, that when they go to Boy Scouts stuff, they usually take this. So they grab it to a tree and off they go.
Do you find, you know, I've got probably 7 cameras that are my go-to, pretty much ready to go at any time, but you end up using your phone for 99% of it. In it every time. It's all on that. You have these things and you just...
And most of the time you use it on the default settings, and when you see that you put it on 4K and your memory starts disappearing like crazy.
I don't know how many you hear, and I'm going to have a whinge about Apple. Nothing to do with it. Oh my God. Is that your phone, Bruce?
Well, it's no one else's. Bring me up, Scotty.
I'm going to whinge about Apple, which is nothing to do with drones. But why have they buried the bloody camera adjustments so far away in the menus? It's ridiculous for resolution.
Sell you a new phone when you get so frustrated with that one.
Louis will only use Android. He can only be an Android user. Yeah. Louis was never going to be anything else.
No. I until this one, I was a dual system user. I had an Android and an iPhone. So now this one has both SIM cards. So I'm okay with it. But the issue is 99% of the time I use the phone and on default settings, and I always have to check when I remember to turn off 4K 60 frames per second or whatever it is. That is the memory sucker of the century. So
it's funny because about a couple of weeks ago I was talking to someone and we were talking about, funny enough, the DJI FPV system specifically, because that's reignited for a lot of people. I think I said it last week. It's reignited a lot of people back into that side of it. And I do think the camera drone side, you get swallowed into it very easily, and you suddenly find yourself spending a lot of time planning. Some people planning waypoint missions and stuff to get a nice bit of footage that looks great, that you show to your missus or you show to your uncle, and then it sits on a hard drive and never gets seen from there. You know, you've got people uploading thousands of hours of footage to YouTube every day of beaches, of sunsets, and it's getting to the stage where it's really, you see something particularly good that you think, wow, that's amazing. You know,
and when you see what some crew cameras, let's call it that way, that are joining small FPV drones with very high quality broadcast quality systems, like the Red Bull races guys that are doing FPV after the and do the broadcast on high definition. Where is the border of a camera drone versus an FPV style drone? Even Bruce, with all his After Effects magic, is falling on the magic. So if he could do it on real time, it would even be better. Because now, how long does it take to render one of those special effects, Bruce?
Not long at all, man. I've got a supercomputer here. It's like my phone.
Yeah.
But,
but you do it offline. You don't do it live.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi. But isn't the dividing line? It is. There's no dividing line. The good shot is by a talented camera person, be they flying a drone or be they just be using a point and shoot camera. I could buy the most expensive camera in the land and my photos would still be absolutely pants. Yet the wife will pick up the cheapest of cheapest smartphones. She's got an artistic eye and she'll take a fantastic photo. You know, that's surely the divider, isn't it?
If it's good pictures you're after, then you want to get a good photographer who's learned to become a drone driver, not the other way around, probably.
Yeah. It's the old thing. The best camera you've got is the one in your pocket. And it's as simple as that, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it's about capturing that moment, that memory. At the end, that's what photography is. It's freezing a moment in time and being able to look back at that later. And I think, funny enough, what Louis was saying, there was a video, I think it was about Christmas, where he was flying over the snow. It felt very much Game of Thrones esque. He was flying over the snowy mountains, and it was a GoPro Hero 7 with the image stabilization on a freestyle quad, and it was stunning. It was one of those videos every now and again you see which you just go, wow. It was smooth, it was crisp, it was clear, and as you say, it wasn't a camera drone. It was a freestyle FPV drone being used to do it.
Yeah, there's no such thing okay, the broadcast system, high definition broadcast system that the guys were using on the Red Bull races costs a lot of money, 10,000 or something. That's more than several times the price of the drone. But even DJI is moving full speed on the professional mobility cameras, let's call it that way. The drones are just another crane on their arsenal. So even these gimbals, the DJI professional gimbals, are meant to be used on cranes and such. And those crazy contraptions of those things that a cameraman has and runs around doing his job, but with a more efficient setup. But still, every professional still uses the same camera that gives them the look they want. Professional videographers are using almost exclusively the same camera, no matter what Red or Hasselblad comes up. They're still using the ARRI.
Yeah, I'm going to paint my camera red if it's going to make it work better.
Well, yeah. Well, ain't that the modern world, really? That is welcome to now. It's find a new colour, and it's bound to work a lot better. Yeah, it
doesn't show the blood.
Doesn't show the blood. There he is. He does it again. Now, have we actually seen any really droney stories this week, gentlemen? Have we really seen anything exciting or interesting?
Right before we started, I got a question from a friend asking me what do I know about the DJI M210 RTK V3, and I asked him, V3, don't you mean V2? Oh no, they told me that it's about to be launched in less than a month. Do you guys know anything about that?
That no, has not crossed my wires.
I've seen stories that DJI are running stock levels down all over the place, as if like getting ready to launch new products and whatever. So, but I think what we spoke about before, I think DJI is going to be moving more away from drones and into non-drone stuff. Look, they brought that little rover out and they've got their camera. Yeah, I think they've realized peak drone has been achieved. And now all we're going to be doing is they're just going to be replacing broken ones.
Hush your mouth. Don't you dare say that'll definitely get us. You're not allowed to say peak drone. You're not allowed to say that. People get very, very, very angry if you say
the only other growth market will be weapons for drones, clip-ons. That'd be great.
I wouldn't
say it again.
I wouldn't expect to see a version 3, Louis, in any time soon. That makes no sense. Zero sense in any logic.
But even so, has any of the launches of DJI made any sense lately?
No,
I agree with you. I agree with you that it does not make any sense because the V2 has less than a year.
Yeah, I know there's a big firmware update due on the V2. That I am aware of. There's a lot of stuff to be sorted. A lot of the RC control isn't fully working on the new Syndense version 2 because this is a different version of the Syndense to the original one. They're not compatible because it's OcuSync compared to Lightbridge. There's a big update due around the corner for that. I know that's in testing, but I would bet as a lot against that happening.
And there's also the rumor of the Phantom being discontinued and then reinstated.
It was 2 years ago.
Sooner or later.
My understanding on that is, and it was never confirmed, but my understanding was it was to do with the camera. And it's not just the Phantom 4. If you notice, the X4S went as well for the Inspire 2, which were using the same sensor lens combo. It was a unit in itself, and a couple of dealers posted that it was entirely down to that part was in short supply and stock was held back for the RTK model, which they continue to make. I believe it was they simply didn't want to put R&D into something that wasn't worth it. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
And I think, well, even 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago. When did the 3? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. And even then, the writing was on the wall because Bruce was saying it's all going 250. The writing was on the wall back then because Bruce said so.
No, and I believe so because we are not seeing any special announcements except for the Skydio guys. And I believe that we will have in a very short, or the next launches will be sub 250 drones.
Well, the Skydio guys are just trying to get DJI to buy them, aren't they? They're trying to get someone to buy them. Surely it's a bit disrespectful. Sorry, Skydio guys, but have you seen? I mean, I've said it before. The video of the what impresses me more is the flying wing in the car park, the underground car park that they lob, and the thing misses all the columns. That's impressive.
Yeah,
I think
a multi-rotor. Yeah, okay. It's going nice and slow, isn't it? It can slow down, but the wing can't slow down.
Yeah, that video on the car park is absolutely astonishing, and especially considering what they were using as hardware and sensors for that.
That was probably 3 years ago, wasn't it?
No, guys, I believe it was even more.
Was it? Okay.
There's a video on the internet of their CEO on a robotics conference mentioning that video and showing that video, and it was mind-blowing.
It's funny because there's been a lot of talk this week about Fat Shark, a huge amount of talk this week on the groups, the forums, about DJI possibly should buy Fat Shark and things like that.
Why?
Why? I think the talk is what for Fat Shark's purposes, not anyone else. DJI don't really do buying companies. Okay, take Hasselblad out of it. That was a separate thing. Take it on their own. They don't really do the big we'll walk in and buy you thing. They tend to just compete and annihilate and move on, and that tends to be their thing. And the whole thing around the Fat Shark this week is obviously they've delayed it. That was a bit of news, isn't it? He delayed it 6 months. Was that this week? That's been delayed now. Frostbite's been delayed 6 months. I honestly don't.
Bite Frost.
Bite Frost. Sorry, not Frostbite. Bite Frost. That's it.
Yeah, but that's straight away it's going to fail, isn't it? We all say we don't say Bite Frost, do we?
I will still be 6 months ahead in 6 months' time. That's the problem they face. That they're not really. They don't have the killer benefit because also, I mean, look at the goggles. I really like those DJI goggles. They're brilliant. I mean, the field of view and the quality of the image and everything, once I've sorted out a few of those analog issues, I would buy those over a set of Fat Sharks just to fly analog because they're so damn.
What do you mean? What do you mean a few of those analog issues? What do you mean by that?
Watch my video, Gary.
No, but just explain it. Just.
Yeah. Well, no. Basically, it only runs 4.3 at the moment. It doesn't run 16.9, which is a waste of space in the goggles, and it would be nice to increase the field of view. There's a little contrast and saturation control on the top, which is always there, which could overlay some of your OSD information, which is annoying. It doesn't remember that you want to use it in AV in mode, so you got to go through the menus and set it to AV in mode every time. There's a little bit of latency, which isn't going to affect fixed wing flyers, might be for top end quad flyers, but these are small things, and the DVR doesn't record the AV input. Which may be the hardest one of all for them to solve. But these are pretty simple things. Most of them can be done in firmware. The other thing I've found, interestingly enough, I've had a couple of emails from people who have also had that bayonet connector problem. And it looks like it could be a design issue. The bayonet connector sits in there, but it very easily just pops out enough to disconnect. It's never happened in flight. But if you have a look, you push it in, you don't have to pull it out very much at all or just wiggle it to lose power to the goggles, at least in the set I've got. And
now mine is tight. This is interesting because mine is really tight. Now, have you tried another cable, Bruce? Because 2 people I've seen posted have tried a different cable and theirs was better.
That's what I was going to do. That's a short cable, the short bayonet connector. I was going to try a longer one. In fact, those are notoriously unreliable. Every set of goggles I've ever had, that connector has failed because the wire breaks just at the end of the reinforcement inside the insulation. So,
just to give you an idea on mine, I can wiggle it. Okay, if I wiggle it round, eventually it comes out. But it is, I've got to give that some heave ho. But if I'm honest, once it's in, it's not going to come out by itself. No, on this set,
there must be some variation in batches and things. Or they chose a different to run out of the good ones and gave us the crap ones.
I know one user's done a different cable. I think 1 or 2, and they said it was the cable for them. So it could just be the DC jack That's
yeah,
at fault.
Yeah, it probably is. I'll try another one actually, because I noticed it's got a little detent in the barrel. It's like,
Yes.
it's like a latch in, and I don't think it's going in far enough on the one I've got to actually catch on that latch, which is why it pops out. But the other ones I've got, I think I've probably got a couple with the same little detented ring. I'll try some of those and see how they get on.
It's funny because I've been monitoring all the groups this week, and I've been on holiday. I've been off this week, and I've had a lot more time to have a look around. And Fat Shark have been very active on all the forums. Funny enough, he's posting a lot, but he's taking a lot of crap, frankly, off users. Some of it I think is a bit unfair on him, if I'm honest. You know, I sort of think of Fat Shark a bit like I think of GoPro. You know, they're a company that got us a long way to where we are. No one wants to see them disappear. I just don't see how they can move forward from where they are now. You know, people forget this is DJI's 7th version of a digital system. This isn't day one. This wasn't the first. It started with Lightbridge all the way back with that separate box and receiver, which was for big camera ships. Then it was Lightbridge 1.5 on the Phantom 3 and the Inspire 1, then Lightbridge 2 standalone 2.5. So, you know, this is 7 versions I counted down. And it's your OcuSync, which then with the Mavic, it stepped into OcuSync. They're both OFDM based. They both use FHSS on the control frequency. Lightbridge and OcuSync are very, very similar. Very, very similar. There's some fundamental differences in how it processes the data, but if you look at it on a scope, they look very, very similar. But this is the 7th version. It's taken them 7 attempts, and finally the FPV community have gone, we'll have this. We'll take it. And for Fat Shark to walk in from 0 to digital, I just don't see it's possible. I just don't see how they can. And
the thing is,
the cost of spinning custom silicon is so high, even with analog devices on board. I mean, looking at the total market that exists for this stuff, it's so small. I can't see why anyone other than DJI would go to the expense of spinning some custom silicon, which is almost absolutely a necessity if you're going to do the job properly. So, yeah, I think, you know, I don't know that if I was I certainly wouldn't do it commercially unless I was DJI, and you've got a big platform over which you can leverage, and you're leveraging your previous experience. So it doesn't cost you as much to develop as it would cost going from scratch, like Fat Shark are doing. And Fat Shark are an interesting company. They started the FPV goggle business. I've still got a set of the original base editions. I must get them out. And they've progressed along, but they've also rested on their laurels a lot. They haven't really innovated much. I suggested many, many years ago, because all FPV goggles were black. And when I like to fly in the sun, they get hot. You can't even put the damn things on. They burn, and it's not good for the insides. And I suggested, how about you guys start making them white? And they did. They took it up. But even today, they don't have a switch on the damn things. You've got to unplug and plug the battery in, which is why those cables fail. Just a switch to turn it on would be a really cool thing. So it's not like they're really innovating. They put OLED displays in, but I mean, Skyzones have got OLEDs now, and they're pretty well ranked. And so they've made the rapid fire, but that was only after every other man and his dog were making diversity receivers for the Fat Shark. They realized we could make money out of this. So then they did it. They didn't lead the market. So I think they have rested an awful lot on their laurels, and maybe they were relying on this digital system to give them a new boost, because I know a lot of people around here don't. In fact, I don't think anyone uses Fat Sharks around here. So they really do need to lift their game.
Have you used the HDOs? I haven't.
No, I haven't.
I haven't. You know, these are my Fat Shark. These are the Dominator version 2s. These are what, 4 years old now? So, you know, I'm someone who purchased a set of goggles 4 or 5 years ago. That isn't a business model that's sustainable. Now, why would I change these? They do everything. I bought these to use on my Phantom 3 and use them for analog FPV. They got HDMI input on the bottom. They got a DVR. They do everything I wanted them to do for the last 4 to 5 years. And that's probably the root of their problem. I've bought 1 set of goggles in that period of time. If everyone's the same, that's not a good business model, is it? And that's the problem.
You're not the target consumer. You're not the target consumer.
But who buys goggles every year?
But most people don't.
You're not upgrading them frequently, are you?
I still use a set of Aomway goggles, which were like about $250 US worth, and they're perfectly good. They've got some downsides, but they've also got a lot of upsides. And in New Zealand, a set of HDOs would cost me $1,000. I would rather buy the DJI goggles for less, just about the same price, and be done with it. There's no real tangible benefits to buying Fat Sharks at the moment. But I think if they
Sorry, Bruce, well, they've come in at that leap point. You needed a little bit of a leap to make it bother even considering, and it is that little bit of a leap, isn't it? And
well, it's here. Here's a classic example of that leap. That is the OcuSync goggles from last year. That was what everyone said wasn't good enough. Too much latency. Fixed wing users love it. Fixed wing users quite love this system. They really do. It's I get more questions on this system from fixed wing users in a week than any other of my videos. They love it because of the head tracking and all of that. But they took from that step to that step, and that's the upgrade step there, isn't it? That's you go from that to that. You go right there. It is. If you picked up a set of HDOs, they're not going to look much different to that. Then you'll put them on and go, cool, that's a bit better. But when you've still got a crappy 570 PAL image coming into it at 500 foot and it starts snowing up, it still looks the same level of crap at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's just zero crap.
Well, the thing is also that one of the things with the DJI goggles, you can wear your glasses under them. Fat Shark haven't addressed that. You've got to get diopters, and if you've got astigmatism, you have to get special bloody lenses made and things. It's a very expensive operation, and fortunately, most of the market to date's been young people who don't need corrective eyewear, but there's still a big market for people like Gary and myself who are really old and our eyes don't work anymore. So having the ability to wear glasses under goggles is really cool.
No, but the thing is, and it's not so much about Fat Shark because Fat Shark is on old technology, but I've seen a lot of people not on the play world or non-commercial world using the Epson Movirio glasses. And those are perhaps the most game-changing than even the DJI. I don't know if DJI could do something like the see-through like the Movirio.
Yeah, augmented reality.
Well, they partnered with them, didn't they? They did partner with them for a bit on that.
They did, yes, they did. Yeah. Yes, they came for a little while. They came. What did they come with? Was it Inspires?
I think it's Inspire 2. It was all tested with, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's so expensive, though.
It's weird. I've been really interested. The whole digital FPV thing is kicked off a hell of a lot, and the two things that have shocked me is how much crap Fat Shark have been taking. Some of it unwarranted.
And then there's the Oculus Rift guys. They have to, if they want to have volume, they have to go down in not require an i7 or an i9 on the glasses to do images. So those are the two. I think DJI entered every on the Fat Shark market, but also has put a leg or two on the professional kind of stuff. So even the guys from Oculus Rift or the Epson guys must be wondering what they're going to do next. Because
it's what it's all boiling down to is the size of the market, isn't it? Really, for all developments and stuff like that. And the reason I say that is trying to cut into the urban air mobility people, the flying taxi people. I'm beginning to see a little bit of descent in the ranks because people are realizing that if you look at it, that you're trying to replace an R44, an R66, or a Jet Ranger, that sort of market, that market isn't very big. And urban air mobility, if you want to say air taxis with helicopters, has been around for years. And people are beginning to say there's not enough actual money in the market to bother worth producing these things. So it'd be very interesting to see if that disappears now. But it's market size. We're not as big as we think we are. I think the whole industry, I don't think as big as we think we are.
I 100% agree with that. And the funny thing is, if you take the DJI goggles, that is funded from the Mavic, from all of the technology they put into those aircraft. They got to this by that system funding the development to get them there. If you were doing to develop this on its own, it wouldn't be worth it. It would never be worth putting the amount of money and R&D into just that on its own.
And I bet a few thousand units of these FPV goggles out in the wild, they're going to get a hoon of a lot of complaints about this and that and the other, because that's how it's going to be. But that'll be fantastic market research for perhaps something else that they've got in mind in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years' time, or more of a commercial system or something like that. You know, they DJI could probably afford to have it. I'm sure it won't be a loss leader, and I know they're very, very good. But you know, they can afford to put something out, see how it goes, then decide what they would do ultimately. I mean, they're not foolish. And again, as Bruce said, then they'll already be 6 months ahead of Fat Shark in a wee while's time, but they might be 2 years ahead then in reality from the feedback that they've had and what they're going to turn it into.
The question is also, I haven't seen any disassemble of the careful disassembly of the DJI goggles or the transmitter to know what's inside. If what's inside is clonable by their neighbors, so if they're using standard chips,
you won't see copies of that stuff. I'm pretty sure they've spun some custom silicon, given the size and the amount of work that's going on there. That they've basically produced their own ASIC to do the job. You can do it with FPGA and copy it that way, but it's going to choose so much power. It's going to be so big and heavy that it just wouldn't be a competitor.
Well, that's how they used to. They moved halfway through the Phantom 3. They moved from FPGA to custom silicon. The GL300A was FPGA based. GL300B, which is the other remote, moved to custom silicon. They made that step back then, and they've continued it ever since. I think it was FPV Blue said on RC Groups, so I think it was him who said some time ago that he couldn't buy the components for just the ear unit at the cost that DJI was selling the whole package for. And I hope Fat Shark are able to do something, because they're a big brand. I hope they're not waiting to be bought out, because I don't think that will happen. I just don't see that being a move.
Bought out by whom?
DJI.
And do they want them?
No. They don't.
So if you're not on inside the numbers, like I'm not, then imagine the guys that have this Excel spreadsheets. So it does not make any sense.
I don't see them.
No,
I don't see them buying. No, they won't want them, because the barrier to entry is so low. Look how many people are making FPV goggles now. There's Aomway, there's Sky Zone, there's every man and his dog makes FPV goggles now. It's not like there's a huge hurdle like there is with digital FPV transmitters, receivers. It's just a low entry point. So why would you pay a fortune when you can just basically reproduce? You've already got a name. You don't need to buy goodwill. You've already got a fantastic name, and your audience is the audience you already have, rather than, because I mean, you'll always have this, the hardcore drone racers will probably always buy Fat Shark because they get sponsored, and they get, it's not so much whether it's the best product for the job, but it is a culture thing. So I don't think it'd be worth DJI spending a great deal of effort trying to break into that market. And I was actually surprised when they launched the digital FPV system that they really did pick the wrong target market, because if you look now, I don't see racers rushing out to buy this stuff. I don't see freestylers rushing out to buy this stuff. The people who are buying it are the old slow people like Gary and myself who get some benefit out of it. Yeah, or Andy, yes, but I didn't want to
slow and proud.
And that's a metronome down there in the corner.
Yeah.
So, but I think they chose, as I said last week, I think they chose that market, the freestyling and the drone racing market, because it has a sizzle associated with it. It has a media sensationalism. It sort of looks exciting, but really they're just going for the people who are going to benefit most from it. And it's targeted market. It works really well. I wouldn't be using it for racing. I wouldn't be using it for freestyling. But if you just want to enjoy the ride, it's the best thing on the block.
Yeah.
And what's interesting
apparently it's cheap. If you want to start fresh on the FPV style.
Yeah, if you're going to go, it's cheap in a way. If you want to go top end analog, you'll pay more than you pay for the digital. But if you want to go cheap, it's still a hell of a lot cheaper to go analog if you just buy a set of box goggles and a $25 combined video transmitter camera and a cheapo set of FlySky radio gear. It's still much cheaper to go bottom end analog than digital.
Yeah. If you want to walk in and start with good gear, it's probably the way to go. If, as you say, if you want to go and buy a 30 quid radio from Hobby King and another 20 quid FPV. You know, you can get set up for 100 quid, can't you? But if you want to buy yourself some good gear, it's the way. I'm still shocked at how little bad is being said. I'm just, it has blown most people, not away, it's probably not the right term, but everyone's accepted it very well. You know, wow, this is great. We like this. Bruce's words are, you know, the hardcore races, unless DJI starts sponsoring, and that's an interesting proposition, I suppose. Rather than put money into purchasing someone, could they then start sponsoring moves into the racing scene? That would be the logical way forward, wouldn't it?
Years ago, they even had some motors for the racer scene, the snails.
Snails. Well, again, your history man there, Louis. I think you're talking 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Less.
It's interesting. DJI likes to keep people on their toes, don't they? They put out these little false leads and things, you know, but what's this? Oh, we don't know. They're going to do this. They get the rumor mill going. Probably they do that. They seed the market with rumors, and then they just look at the feedback and say, yeah, okay, we'll do that, or we won't do that. It's cheaper than commissioning focus groups and things.
or get your competitors flailing around trying to build something that they've no need to build, and then dodge the other way. No, look, very rarely. Very, very rarely do we get to speak about the same thing. I don't quite know how we fell into it this time, but 3 weeks in a row we've spoken about this, and 3 weeks in a row we've not said what a bloody awful thing.
Gary, what are the alternatives for doing HD? Amimon, Connex? Come on, are you guys kidding me?
Yeah. No, I know.
We can't buy it anymore, Louis.
Yeah.
We're going out of business.
Yeah, what is Connex? Because Connex should have had this. You know, they're 4 years, 5 years down the line now. They should be on version 5 or 6 of theirs.
They were bought out, weren't they? And I think they realised the market was so small. Yeah,
they didn't see a market, so they went the other route. You go to the pro teams, and what do they use?
No, but I think Connex, didn't they go on there a little bit involved in the military side of things now? I think they are.
Just putting weapons on drones, I think.
Cameras on the front of weapons. Cameras on the front of bombs. You get HD as it's coming down.
So as we say, it's a very small market. Look, we've got 4 of the top drone flyers in the world here. We're half of the good drone flyers in the world in this little webcast alone.
I've built my new freestyle quad today. Today I've finished building. I haven't programmed it yet. But I finished building. This is the best this will ever look. By Monday, this is going to look like it's been in a car crash, because that's inevitable what's going to happen.
So you have to get these cameras on it.
Which real sense ones are these?
I've got some stereo ones. I've got some 3D cameras.
Yeah.
For FPV. That was a big non-event, really, wasn't it? 3D FPV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought the wrong HDMI connector. Does that count? I mean, is it showing things off? Does that count? I bought the wrong connector.
Why, for the Raspberry Pi 4?
I haven't got one of those yet. I haven't got a 4 yet. No, and what are you doing with your 4?
Nothing at the moment. It's still in this box on my desk, unfortunately. I printed a box, but yeah, my daughter wants to play with it.
It's interesting how cameras are like computers, aren't they? Because when I was doing some TV stuff back at about 2000, turn of the century, shows you how old I am. I remember we strapped some cameras on the drag races we built at Centerpod drag strip with jet engines, and they had these little Sony sort of like pen cameras that were like so expensive, and it was standard definition video. They were like thousands of dollars each, and all they gave you was like a D2 or D1 type image, standard definition, and had to be very careful with them and things. And now you can go and pick up a $100 action camera, which is 4K, super wide dynamic range and everything. And the difference is just in the period of just less than 2 decades. It's amazing. It's just like, the old computer's worth nothing. The old camera is now worth nothing. It's like, what's going to happen in another 5 years? We'll have to buy new cameras. So that's why I think DJI are better off in the camera market than the drone market.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's why they bought that. Well, many reasons they bought that company. Was that company that used to provide that? Well, that was Dog Cam Sport or something. Was in the UK, was the major importer of those cameras back in the day. I remember those very well, not to say fondly. And that was when you were on Scrap Heap Challenge, I believe, wasn't it, Bruce?
It was indeed, when I was deafening people all around Centre Point.
Like Series 2, Episode 6 or something like that. Anyway, I can't remember. There's 13
Third
episodes.
man from the back on the right-hand corner.
That's right. So, if you wish to see it, Scrap Heap
And
Challenge.
that's why Robert Llewellyn now likes electric vehicles. They're much quieter.
Bruce,
Yeah,
you might be able to answer me a question. Why not have we got HD analog FPV? Because it took off in the CCTV industry massively, didn't it? 960p, I think it was.
Yeah. You can get a lot of
Why?
analog.
Loading is a pain in the ass.
Is that what it is? You know, I'm interested. We talked earlier about no movement forward on FPV. Why did we not end up with HD analog? Because it's doable. We know it's.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because I was just going through some notes the other day and I was looking at the viability of doing just what you say, an analog, a higher definition system, because the cameras are there. And I was thinking, and also the way that it's been done in the past, we've just used SD componentry like television. We've got, FM subcarriers for audio, and we've got the chromatic channels and things. It's like, it's 1970s encoding technology for our video signals. There are much better ways. The basic signal is AM modulated on our carrier waves. Really, seriously, why would you use AM modulation in 2012 or 2000? What is it now? 19. I'm a bit behind the times. Why would you use AM modulation when FM? We know the difference between AM and FM radio. We could just use FM modulation, and we'd all get rid of a lot of the noise problems and the multi-pathing problems that we have with our traditional video. So I'm thinking maybe it's time we actually just revitalize the analog system by just applying some new modulation techniques and some new technology, and it would be quite simple and straightforward to do without having to have special custom silicon and that. So I've just been going through in the last couple of weeks looking at the viability and what the chipsets would cost, and I may actually do some experimentation there.
The bandwidth it will take, Bruce, the bandwidth that will take for broadcasting IDF.
Well, if you look at it now, DJI are using 20 megahertz of bandwidth on the 5.8 channel. Our analog systems generally are supposed to use about 8, I think, if they comply with the standard broadcast standards. So you could double that. You could double your bandwidth and still less than the DJI system. The other problem we've got is that most of the FPV receivers we're using in our things, they're really poor. The front ends are really poor, so they get overloaded very easily. So most of the problem isn't so much that the channels are bleeding over each other. It's the fact that we've got no adjacent channel rejection in our receivers, which is why we can't run good channel spacings, why you can't run two people side by side on analog without reverse polarized antennas and low power levels. So if we improve the design of the receivers, which is quite easy to do if you're not using, sort of old technology, then you could get a lot more mileage out of analog, I think. The only downside is that, of course, radio spectrum regulators are trying to move everyone away from analog onto digital because it makes it there's less problem with interference and so forth. So even then, you can just apply some spread spectrum modulation techniques, which means you're still sending an analog thing, but you're not packaging it up, and you're not putting, you're not putting another transport layer, another logical layer on there. You're just going to squirt it out the pipe as a byte stream, and at the other end, or bit stream, the other end, you just decode it, and if you get a bad frame, just throw it away. I think the Connex system did that to a degree, but I think there's better ways to do that now, and I think it's something worth just investigating and playing with.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's not like we've hit the limit of technology on analog. That we're nowhere near. There's ways of doing this better. There has been ways of doing this better for close to 10, 15 years, and no one's doing it. These modules originally came from cheap video transmitters at the end of the day. That's what all of these modules are for.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, are we, we're not the market, are they? What's the market? If it's your closed circuit television, that's where it all came from, was a wireless one. It was good enough, wasn't it? I mean, do enough people need it? And that's
well, that's why it'd have to be a sort of a homespun thing. I'd make it up as a DIY project or something. But because the thing is that you've got cameras now, 1,200 TV lines of resolution in your camera. And if you look at the video bandwidth, well, you're only going to get, 600 TV lines effectively broadcast. So you waste, why have a 1,200 TV line camera with a 600? It's only the picture is only as good as the weakest link, and the weakest link is our video transmitter receiver. So if we can improve the bandwidth on those, we're going to get some market improvements in terms of the the sharpness of the image. And if we change the modulation techniques, we'll get rid of a lot of the multipathing and the other problems that plague analog. So yeah, I think everyone's looking at digital. Maybe it's just time we took a step back and said, well, can we make analog better?
Fair play. Gary DePrato in the comments is saying, is the US market growing at all or just above fad?
Ops manual writing services, yes. OSC writing services, yes.
I think it's just niches within the market, isn't it? I mean, like, I think, I've already got my weapon guide lined up. All these different bombs, guns, knives, flamethrowers. Everything.
I want to see.
How am I going to earn my 40 cents for this video?
And then I'm going to start my legal services to try and get you off the fine.
I want to see this book. I want to see Bruce's guide to airborne weaponry.
On the YouTube videos. Every time I manage it. Is the market growing? I think, as Bruce has said, it is. There are people making money. There are definitely people making money, but there are specialists and they know what they're doing with whatever it is.
Louis makes money. Louis makes money.
That's because he's a bank robber. But no, the people there are people, but they have skills. They know what they're doing. They're surveyors. They're inspectors. They're whatever. They know what they're doing. The drone is drug smugglers, weapons specialists. The drone is a tool in their toolkit. People that just think that buy a drone and think they're going to make money, not so much.
Wasn't there a survey of professionals that only 0.6% were doing more than $1,000 per year?
Yeah.
The UK is, I think, slowing in general from the drone point of view. If I look at the groups, there are more people coming in, yet the frustration is rising in the PFCO groups. You can feel it. There's an antsiness to everyone at the moment. There's some frankly nasty behavior going on between some. There's this constant, he's doing something illegal, I'm grassing him up, and everyone's watching everyone else rather than watching what they're doing. Because frankly, I ran my own business for 10 years, and don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Concentrate on what you're doing and do what you do well, and it will work out. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but some of the newcomers don't even do their basic homework, because you get guys, I'm going, why does not my new drone that I bought at Tesco, just to name one shop we don't have here, that I bought at Tesco, I cannot fly nearby the airport because I had a job. I was hired to do some images.
10 meters from the fence. Yeah.
So I want to do the images, and the damn drone won't fly. Come on, these are the guys that are falling now on the market, and they don't even do their basic homework. And so when you tell to some of them that in some countries of the world you have to register your drone, have a drone identification number visible on the fuselage and an identity plate, be equipped with a parachute and automatic landing devices, be over 18 and have a national drone pilot certificate to operate drone. The commercial drone pilot must obtain the following medical certificates. Certificate demonstrate the passing of a theoretical and practical exam. Have a system maintenance manual and operation manual. Have liability coverage up to 1 million euros. And yeah, so when you go and tell these rules to a guy that came into the drone business.
But we shouldn't have them in the UK. At the end of the day, the PFCO prevents that now. But there's a big but to this. If the EU rules coming as they are, that's going to become the norm, because anybody with the sub 4 kilo will be able to do commercial work within the EU without any further training. But as it stands today, so that's what the document says. But as it stands today in the UK, that isn't or shouldn't be the case. I think the UK is slowing. The drone industry bubble is bursting
Yeah, because some of the entrants that wanted to make a quick buck or do capitalization of their companies, the risk capital investment funds don't have the patience to wait for a business to go.
Yeah.
So most are bailing out.
Yeah, UTM's where it is. But on the flip side of that, I think we're getting rid of the nonsense. We're getting rid of the hype. We're getting rid of people that are in for the quick buck, and the people that there are people making money and they are cracking on with it, but they've got the skills. And so we're growing. Perhaps Bruce will know there'll be some point of business that this is an established, known way that new things happen, and we've reached that point where we're growing up. Quite frankly, we're growing up. And things will only get better, in the words of that song.
Optimism is replaced by reality, and it's happened in every industry. Computer industry, it was going to be massive, and it is big, but not the way it was going to be turning out. Every new technology, people see all the positives and the benefits of the internet. It was going to be great, and then 2000 came, there was a .com crash. It's just ups and downs. At certain stages, the enthusiasm gets ahead of reality, and someone comes along, cashes that reality check, and everything comes down to ground. And it's going to happen it's happening with the drone industry. I think I think also regulation has played a huge part in what we're seeing now. The increase in the burden of regulation on people, and the fact that we're being criminalized by the media, the regulators. It's not a popular thing in terms of public opinion to be the guy standing behind the transmitter flying the drone anymore.
It's and Gary says excellent. Thank you, Gary. Top name, by the way. Long-term vision is definitely needed. The thing is, all the bits to make money are there. The autopilots work. The cameras and sensors various are getting better, lighter, and cheaper. The software to process that stuff. The qualified youngsters to make sure that's right. So all the bits and pieces are there. You just got to go out to play with the right mindset, I think.
I was talking to a guy this week who was asking me, I was consulting, and he said, what to buy? I said, doesn't matter what you buy right now, everything's good. The reality is we're sort of in a little bit of a golden age of technology, from flight controllers. Everything is good. Nothing's bad, let's be honest. They all have their quirks one way or another, but they're all good. Set them up properly. They'll all fly. They'll all do what you want them to do. Fairly well.
What do you want them to do?
Sticks, just get 4 sticks and 4 propellers. Is that
no? Yeah, but I mean, the gear is good now. There's very little that you'd say avoid like the plague, apart from the cheapest low end stuff. It doesn't matter if you buy an off the shelf, ready to fly Mavic, or you build yourself a big Pixhawk rig with a CUAV Vision 5. It's all good gear.
Have you tested that?
I haven't had it yet. It's on its way over. It's on its way. It's still in the post. It should be here this week.
Yeah.
But there's nothing bad now, is it? Let's be honest. We're in a bit of a golden age, to be honest.
There are quilks, and there are some. The lowest end controllers are to avoid, but that's the usual.
There's plenty, rather than poor equipment, there's plenty of people that don't read the flipping manual.
Yeah.
There's plenty of that.
Have you, Gary, read the manual?
Every time I set something up, I sit down with the wiki and go from page 1 again and start again, quite deliberately, because every time I have forgotten something. Every single time.
I read the manual today for my Brain FPV flight controller in that. I did read it because I didn't know what the bloody pinout was because it was too small.
That leads me to a question. If I want to get one of those mini drones, trash can, is it trash can? The type? Bruce, what's the recommendation?
Don't.
Okay.
There's a better one coming up tomorrow, Louis. There's always a better one. What do you want to do with it? I mean, is this just for flying around inside and annoying the cats, or do you want to do like cine whoop stuff, or what? It depends on what you want to do as to what is best for you.
Yeah, but there are not many options these days, right?
Well, there's modular whatever thingy, trash cans, and at that end of the market, the market is now becoming totally flooded with these little shredded prop or little tiny 2-inch, 3-inch quads, And so you either buy the cheapest because you know you're going to break it, or you buy something that's exactly what you're looking for and just look after it. Just stick it on the shelf, don't fly it.
Yeah,
it's funny. Is this the? I've missed the micro quad, not the micro quad, but this sub territory. I listened to Joshua Bardwell's podcast yesterday. I was working up in the workshop, and he went live, and it popped up my phone, and they did a whole 2 hours on micro quads.
They're
And
the best. They're so much fun.
because I still have these.
Yes, I've got exactly one of them. Same as you, Louis.
And these things are there, basically. And they are very bad. These on on today's technology, they are very bad. So you can get smaller than this for less money than this, and brushless.
Brushless now. They've got F4 flight controllers, a lot of them. They've got FPV integrated. And some of the newer ones, like the Cinewhoops, they've actually got HD recording capabilities on board. And the brilliant bits of technology. And once you've got the goggles on, you wouldn't know you weren't flying a full-size mini quadcopter. It is pretty good. As I say, the problem is there are so many of them. And I get offered a lot of them to review, but you get into the same situation that it was before. Nobody wants to see yet another review of another product that's come out today, will be gone tomorrow, and has no real benefits over the other one you reviewed last week. So I've sort of steered away from reviewing those a little bit. But what I want to do is just, I might just do some behind the scenes comparisons and come out with my recommendations rather than boring everyone with all the tiny details of every little product. Just come out with recommendations, because the Cinewhop area is something that I'm really interested in, using really, really small quadcopters to get really good, not almost cinema quality video, because you can fly it in places where you couldn't fly a bigger quad because it would be illegal or people would notice, or both. And you can fly them safely in places where you wouldn't fly a bigger quad, like over the heads of people, because if they fall in the head, just tangles in the hair. It's not a big problem. But you can do stuff that you couldn't otherwise do. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that kind of material appearing on YouTube and even in the media. I mean, why would a TV company take a big matrice and a Massacrate camera hanging below just to get a couple of seconds of a shot that could be done with something that fits in the palm of your hand and gives you 4K footage, which you can stabilize and post and make it look pretty good?
Yeah, but the thing is, these trash can, I call them the trash can generation of drones. They start to look interesting. They're on what you on your backyard of desired features of a drone. So, like you said, FPV, some those split cams that you have been toying with are also an option. So I'm undecided if I go and build one to have fun and go and shop around all the components, or just save myself the hassle and get myself one. That's
just get one. I think you struggle to build one. I think
what I usually do in that case is buy one, so that then you can understand better the limitations and the strengths. So when you decide you want to build one, you'll know what bits to choose and what's important to you. Because there's buy cheap ones, so you get that basis. Otherwise, if you build from scratch, you don't really know what you're trying to achieve or how to achieve it. So there's a two-stage process: buy one and then build one.
I'm just looking now. This what's this? Better 85X HD seems to be mentioned. There's so many, isn't there? There's hundreds and hundreds.
I heard about the Eachine 65. There's one with the English flag and the other with the US flag.
Well, there we are then.
The English flag one will be better.
That'll fly better, yeah. Well,
if you take it to Europe, it'll break.
Yeah.
No, it'll fly out as quick as it can. It'll head out. It'll just leave fast.
Yes.
Faster.
And it won't pay the bill.
Yeah, there you go. But they're just, I personally find them fun to fly. Well, just because they are, because I can fly them through the feet of the table and chairs here, and muck about, and I don't feel like I've.
You must have got much better with your flying, then, have you?
Well, Dan's.
That sounded patronising.
You're not wrong. The lad Dan's much better. I can watch Dan fly between that.
You know that flying under the chair, you have to have the propellers on. It's not worth to put it under the chair and not using the throttle. You have to use the throttle.
But Gary just does dead flying.
Yeah.
I do, exactly. That's exactly what I do. But it doesn't feel like you've got several $100 wrapped up in the thing that you're going to bash into the wall. So you muck about and you just pop a prop back on if something goes wrong and away you go. So it's far more relaxed and far more.
Yeah, the other thing is you can buy 10 batteries for those for the price of one battery for a decent sized quad.
I'm just looking.
And how many Cs? How many Cs, Bruce?
3S, they all look.
I never fly anything less than 6S.
Nothing 6S like 6S.
No, exactly. Just Gary was asking drone delivery, how long really, if ever, happening right now in Africa, in dear old Africa, to various points in various places. Go on,
I was just going to say, someone said, I want to see someone turn FPV into a micro frame. I've seen it in a sub 3-inch already. Someone's put it in a sub 3. It's happening, and it's happening now.
Yeah. No, they're great fun. That size, it just makes sense. Makes sense. A lot less risk all around, and you can feel you can muck about. And as I say, back to drone delivery, happening in Africa, happening now, happening to your front garden is somewhere in a city in America. I doubt it very much.
The only downside of those 3-inch quads is you can't use as big a weapons on them.
Oh, it's not the number. Come on. You just go and use them as a swarm. So it's not the power that each one has is the power of the group. So
and of course, because you have artificial intelligence on board,
and facial recognition.
It has explosives on the bottom. It's like that video, isn't it? It hits you. Yeah. Bruce, you're so far from the line, you can't even see the line. You're so far from the line.
Either mile or only time before I can put that comment up, can't I? Because one of the troubles with this new way is it doesn't show the comments afterwards. They all disappear, the live comments. It is only a matter of time before all drones acquire a license. You're absolutely right, Idle. You're absolutely right.
You get that already for the privacy and the right of image of people is already on the wheels. For Europe, in Portugal, it's already there. You cannot take a flight with a camera drone without asking for a permission to the Air Force from all things.
It's more about safety, Louis. Have you not seen the Slaughterbot video?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was it that held that up? Was that Andy that held that up? Someone held that up as a thing, didn't they, in a recent talk?
I've just found one of these little drones, right? With
what's he looking at?
Right, one of these little drones, right? And you can get it with a HD PVR and Crossfire. Why do you need Crossfire on a 3-inch drone? Where are you going with it?
A long way away. I mean, they've got 3-minute flight. Whiz away, flying behind obstacles like Gary.
159 quid. It isn't worth building one for that, is it?
No, I've seen them. Come on, I've seen them quite cheaper. I was going for the cheaper ones for.
Oh, that's HD though. It's got to be HD PVR. You want HD? I want to see the cat.
No, because we want to put the DJI goggles with them. So get it without HD, without FPV. To put the DJI receiver.
They're all running Betaflight as well. It just shows in it. I've missed this miniature world. I really have.
Yeah.
No, you should get them. They are good fun. I've said that many times now.
No, the thing is that some of them are using the older F3's MCU, and some are using the brain damage F4s.
What's the brain damaged F4s?
The ones that don't have enough memory to run anything reasonable.
Okay.
Below the 420s, I believe it's below the 420s.
411s, the 411 series.
Yeah.
Chris,
I call them brain damage. They're perfectly fine controllers, but they don't have enough for us to play around.
They run base flight perfectly well. What are you complaining about?
Absolutely.
I believe I still have my. Beta? No. I don't remember.
Chris, iForce2D has kindly said in the comments that he can see the old comments. So that's good. I couldn't. I wonder why. I'll have to look at that again. But I'm looking forward, Chris. If you don't know Chris's channel, you should click on his name in the comments and go and look at his sliced videos. It's Flying Wings, really fantastic videos of stuff he's making there. So well done, Chris. I'm enjoying that series very much indeed. Look at the time. It's very late o'clock. Oh, there you go. Which one's that?
Yellow.
There we are then.
And yellow to you too. Yes, this is the Jumper TX. This is quite an old one. It's got brushed motors, but it's got FPV. It's a 1S battery, 500C. And but I love this thing. I can fly it around inside the house, and you can crash into everything. The only problem is that the cats go ballistic and tear at the curtains trying to get out of the house. But I mean, these are $75 or something with FPV and a Betaflight flight controller, and yeah, fantastic value.
And really, that flight controller almost doesn't matter, does it? Because you fly it, you don't bugger about with it. You're not spending weeks just fine tuning this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah,
you could,
but flight controllers don't matter at all. You might as well not have one.
Yeah, exactly. Just chuck it across the room. Use a lot less battery if you do that. Yeah, no, they're great things. They're great things. Every home should have one or two or three. Look at the time. We're late. We're very late. Did anyone actually see any news? And anyone in the comments recall Bruce and his Ladybird indoors way back? Well, I don't know if I've seen that.
I've got an FPV transmitter on the little original Walkera Ladybird, and I flew it inside and I flew it outside as well. I think it was probably one of the very first micro FPV. Maybe I was first. I don't know, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was very challenging to do. And when you look at what we've got these days, it shows in the period of a few short years, the technology just moved so quickly.
And Chris was going to fly that plane this morning, as he says in the comments. Let's put that comment up. And
live stream. Come on, Chris, live stream.
Yeah, he won't. He'd never come on, will he? Oh, live stream of the flight. Yeah, that'd be good.
You can strap his phone to the plane. This will be fine.
That's how we all started, wasn't it? That's how it all was back in the day, way back when Pontius was a pilot.
Ooh, you're older than me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Anyone else see anything else? Anyone else see anything else? We've got to.
It was that guy in Australia that I mentioned that got the $7,500 fine for flying at night and flying within 30 meters of people. It shows that I think what's happening is, again, as I say, the judge was probably, I think maybe he was dangerous, but there's not enough background information. There's some stuff on Facebook and stuff on the CASA site, but it doesn't really give you the details of the situation. If he wasn't endangering anyone, I think that's simply a case of the court saying, how dare you not pay the fine, and you're an evil drone flyer, and I read on Forbes that you're going to put bombs on your drone, so bugger you, we'll give you a $7,500 fine. And that's the worry, that when these regulations come into effect, we're going to see people made examples of. There's going to be scapegoat, you better follow the rules, or this is what will happen to you. And if we make enough big fines, we don't even have to enforce anymore, because everyone just takes their drones, sticks them in the cupboard, and cows in the corner for fear of being arrested.
But wasn't that the guy that he was fined that because he was one, 2 or 3 times, and he didn't care and kept on doing what he was?
Well, people have warned me to, and I just carry on.
Yeah,
but I don't endanger anybody, or not very many people.
But you're too cozy with your mayor. By the way, when are the elections?
Oh, she's running unopposed. Oh no, it's terrible.
Come on, Bruce. Come on.
And one of our councillors used the N word. If he gets elected, he's going to introduce a stormtrooper-like, attitude to things. And of course, that didn't go down very well, did it?
So, do we start a campaign? Do we start a campaign to get you elected as mayor?
I don't want to get involved with those crooks.
Come on, it's your chance, Bruce. Do something. Do something.
We've had down here, we've had 2 drone incidents at our major international airport reported. Bomb, and I'm thinking, is this in Joburg? Is this the start of a chain of events that we've all seen happening all around the world? We haven't had drone sighting.
One in Canada where the helicopter flew under the drone. The drone guy was doing everything by the book, and the helicopter flew in underneath him. And then the regulators said basically that if there was any merit to taking action, they would, but it was still his responsibility to keep out of the way of the helicopter. Yeah, it was, but is this really the right way to look at it? It's like saying if a pedestrian, if a car mounts the curb and hits a pedestrian, well, the pedestrian should have got out of the damn way. It's his fault. No.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is his fault.
No, but
we're going to see the drone industry reaching a maturity when manned aviation regulations are changed to take into account the rights of drones, but more effectively, the risks have to be borne by the manned aviation community, because if they're going to break the rules themselves, then they can't expect other people to take the rap for that.
Well, we've definitely said that before, and I've been thinking about it a lot this week, thinking about a project that I've been involved in, and the bottom line is, in large, overall, manned aviation isn't conspicuous in the sky. We've said this before, and until they are, we can now get out the way. Even with the humblest of systems, can get out the way. Just please equip yourselves, manned aviation, so we can see you're there. And we're at a crazy point, and it will tip over soon, where manned aviation will get out of the way of the lower airspace. Unfortunately, big business will have purchased that lower airspace. Something else we've been saying for a long time, but we're not far off that point now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we should just have to wear yellow jackets and ride in the streets like that, and umbrellas, and flares, and just like they do in Hong Kong and France. I mean, we just got to take this to the next level.
So we've gone from weaponizing to insightful hate.
How do you fit a water cannon on the Phantom 4?
Okay, so jumping out on the topic, on the autopilot worlds, was just cleared a few moments ago that our good friend Alex Apostoli, also known as Yapu, as I've seen part already what he has been doing. You all remember that he had the open source Lua script running on the Taranis that would report the telemetry. What was the next step, gentlemen?
It was to run it within ArdraPilot, wasn't it? It was to run the Lula scripts within ArdraPilot was a plan, I believe.
Now we are speaking telemetry.
Okay.
So we have telemetry coming down, but we weren't doing anything from the Taranis going up.
No.
So what Alex has done, and is still a very pre-release version, the ability to control parameters from the Taranis back to the ArgoPilot flight stack.
Okay, so we're talking about doing that within the menu system, not presetting switches for PIDs, literally directly changing.
Script,
very nice.
A Lua script running on the Taranis that allows you to do on boards with the Taranis control of parameters.
So how is that data going back? Is it two-way?
Hold on. Well, it's two-way because Taranis telemetry was always two-way.
Okay.
So he just announced it. I've seen it already for some weeks. I knew he was working on that, and he has now publicly announced it. So it's okay. So people can start nagging Alex. Don't tell me I sent you because he'll be mad at me. But it's a good.
So how much we got, Louis? Are we talking PIDs? Are we talking
whatever you want?
Isn't this just adding? But isn't this just adding another layer of making my machine crash because I'm fiddling with my transmitter?
No. Your machine is already crashed because it's under the chair. So.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, true.
Yeah, so no, it really brings the Taranis back to as a full blown ground control station with the limitations. He has done some very interesting things, including on the radios, on the FreeSky radios that have color screens, the possibility of putting maps. So he has been handling all this telemetry stuff quite diligently, and he has been very responsive to all what we have been doing. And this might be a good boost for for the telemetry field that we are expecting. There are a few things that are still needed to be done on the ArduPilot side of things to make it easier. So it's you're interested, Ian.
I'm interested. I'm very interested. Send me a link, Louis. I need to have a look.
Just easy. Go to the ArduPilot site.
Oh, is it on the blogs? Is it?
Yeah.
That just strikes me as complexity.
Well,
no. The way
for me, what this
Alex does it is very easy because you define what parameters you want to. It's on development team. Sorry. You go to FreeSky bidirectional telemetry implementation.
The thing is, what this does is, many of the guys like myself have been building it. You'd put a tablet with a telemetry radio on the side to be able to change the settings. Now, this takes all of that away because you'll be able to do all of that via the radio. Okay, and especially if Louis mentioned we can get maps on the color screen models, you're taking away that second device. You're doing it all within the remote controller, which is that's I like that.
And the thing is, you configure what you want to tune. For instance, if you remember, I asked Michael O'Born a couple of months or already more than a year ago to have a flag on Mission Planner to have the favorites parameters, because you always go after a bunch of parameters, and it was a real pain in the backside to have to scroll down the parameters. And this is almost the same thing. So you have the selected parameters that you want. You can have multiple screens. It works very, very well.
Where am I finding this, Louis? Sorry, Gary. Where am I?
Development team, FreeSky bidirectional telemetry implementation.
I'm just trying to find it.
Because I use that save parameters all the time, or whatever it is. I use that all the time. That's very
so
good.
Is this in the developer chat, or is it in
no?
Discuss.
I'm putting the link here. You can check. Ian is completely going.
I'm already there. So yeah, it's save that.
I don't know. Next, you're going to be telling me you've selected your switches so you can select every single mode and a cup of tea, but you just can't remember which movement of 15 switches is what. I'm not a great believer in all this complexity, I'm afraid. I'm just an old codger. Get it auto-tuned, get it all right, get it flying properly, and then send it all this way. It's just trouble lies this way. And with that, it does. No, I can see all the support questions. I can see them. I can see people saying, I changed to channel 5 on my radio, and the stick was down off to the right, and the other one was far up to the right, and it rolled on its back and went straight in. I can see people doing it. I can see it. I can see it in the support straight away. Be all right for a few. But anyway, that's just me.
So I wanted to give this news because I know Alex is not going to be very happy with me because I'm pushing the...
Louis, when are we going to get 3.7? How far off is this?
It comes up when it's ready.
It's not working properly, so they need to fix it.
No, 3.7 is going to be perfect. So when it will be launched, when it's ready.
It's ready.
Now, we haven't even started the alpha, so you can consider master as pre-alpha.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's just, obviously, we've got a number of flight controllers using master currently, and it's quirky to say the least. So
you mean the crazy small boards, right?
No, the orange cube is only on Mazda.
Those are the crazy those are the crazy big bots.
The crazy big ones. Yeah, there's just some funky crap going on with the drivers and everything with Chivios, and it's causing havoc for me.
So you know the solution. Change colors.
Yeah, right. Look, it really is getting late now, and the dear viewers got other things to do. So, did we see any more news before we go? No. All right, excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a lovely good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever it is, whichever you're doing. Be safe. Join us again, 2100 GMT next week, when we'll try and talk more Chivios trivia. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Thanks very much, gentlemen. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Did you like it?